Greetings once again. This is Stan, students and friends, and I do count you as friends. Somebody asked, why do you say you're a friend? Well, that's an aspiration that I have, that not only will we become people who are teaching one another as students, learning from one another, but that the relationship eventually will go to a much greater one, and that is where we care enough and know enough about each other that in many cases we do call each other friends. So that's my aspiration, and I trust maybe it'll be yours too. What we do is we want to take about every week or so where I put together a little teaching update that would be helpful to you. I hope it will be, so that you can continue on. Remember, continuing on will be very important in the years before us. We have to keep learning, keep reading, keep experiencing some kind of video, teaching, learning experience so that we are getting better not only in who we are, what we know, and how we can better serve one another. So thank you for that. Thank you for the opportunity to do that. Now, a number of years ago, I had a rather interesting experience. I was actually applying to do some consulting work for a major corporation, and that's always a little bit unnerving. And in particular, I was involved with a gentleman who, after looking at some of my credentials and asking a few questions, turned to me and kind of stared at me and said, "Okay, Mr. Hustad, tell me something I don't know." Tell me something I don't know. Well, that's a tough question. I kind of caught myself, smiled. I said, well, let's try this. And I put forward an idea which I'd been thinking about for a while, something that I'd kind of put together and was thinking about putting a presentation about that. And he listened to it and he said, I'll have to investigate that. You passed. Good for you. Now, the interesting thing is I still didn't get the gig, but that was a rather interesting experience to go through. And I now put that in front of you and put that in front of me. I want to make sure that as best as I can, that I'm probably putting something before you that is helpful to you, that will help you be better in who you are and what you do. And I'm always saying is, Stan, and I say it to myself, can you be creative enough to try and actually give enough good content and ideas that everybody who's taking the class will at least discover one thing that they didn't know. Something new and something useful to them. I have a very good friend who is well-meaning and well-intentioned, and he speaks good things, but I'll have to be very honest. It's kind of mundane things. They're good things, but I don't learn from him. I just hear what other people have said before long ago, and it's good, but it's not new. It's not something I don't know. Now, I'm going to ask you to put the same test to the way you walk into the world, that you are continually trying to be a source of good things, helpful things, unique things that you can actually bring into the workplace you're at, the school you go to, the conversations that you're having, things that you know that perhaps the people involved don't know. So I'm going to encourage you to think about what is it that you're going to bring into the world that most people don't know. Well, did you take a little time to think about what that might be? Well, may I try once again? This is very important, I believe, and I hope it will be helpful to you. I call it the fifth word. The fifth word. And it actually comes from a very powerful part of religious literature, the Hebrew Scriptures. And in the first book of the Hebrew Scriptures, the book of Genesis, it begins this way. In the beginning, God created. What was the fifth word? In the beginning, God created. Created. And I have come to the opinion that we must be creators. We must be makers. I'm now and now challenging people to say, what is it that you make? Not what do you do or what kind of job you have, what's your position, what are your responsibilities? What do you create? What do you make? In the beginning, God created. Now let it flow this way. I guarantee it, I'm like a lot of people. I've spent most of my life in communications, and so I do a lot of managing, I do a lot of messaging, I do a lot of marketing, I do a lot of marketing, I do a lot of moving around. Did you notice? They're all M words: managing, messaging, marketing, moving. What about making? The power of the person who is a maker. Now that's why I always have a sense of admiration for those people who their work, which may not be as compensated or certainly as high status as some people, but they make things. When something is done with the work they do, there's a real, honest to goodness thing of value, perhaps of beauty, that has been created. So may I encourage you, whatever your role or whatever your job is, think about this. The fifth word. What are you creating? What are you making that you are putting into the world that gives real value? You'll do a lot of things, but what about the fifth word? The things that an entrepreneur truly does, they create something. What are you creating? Now, final part of our student friend update. Here's what I'd like to encourage you to do. As you know, all of the classes that I put out, for those of you who are my friends and students, they usually are in the $19 to $20 category. But if you simply go in to any Stan Houston What It Takes Challenge course, Stan Houston What It Takes Challenge course, remember, all my courses are meant to challenge you. Hopefully you'll also learn something you don't know. But if you just put in the coupon code FRIEND50, FRIEND50, you always get 50% off on all of my classes and courses. That's because you are one of my friends. So you can do that. Now, one of the classes that has really gotten a good deal of response is the one that I really enjoyed. I'm going to continue. This is how to create a powerful voice and personal presence. Now, this is vital. You are going to have to be able to use your voice both in audio and video and personal presentations if you want to make a difference today in the virtual internet video marketplace. It's vital that you have a good, powerful, creative voice and a personal presence to match. So I'm going to encourage you to take that class. It's a little over about an hour and 15 minutes with a lot of exercises and a lot of ways to help you develop the voice that will give you power and personal presence, which will be very important in your life and in your career. So can I encourage you to do that? Also, with that in mind, we are creating a class now, very short one, very helpful, how to create your video resume. Now, many of you know that I've done a class called Throw Away Your Resume. This is how to get your first job. And part of what that is all about is no one cares about a piece of paper that talks about what you did in the past. Going forward, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, all of your social media presence, those things, you have to have a quality video resume. That's just the way it is. No one wants to read your Facebook. No one wants to read your LinkedIn. No one wants to read all of your Twitter stuff. They don't want to read everything you put on Instagram. They don't necessarily want to read your blog. But you know what? They're probably interested in seeing you and hearing your story. And they're even much more interested in seeing you and learning something that is helpful and useful to them. You know, something they didn't know from you. Well, you're going to have to learn how to do a video resume. And my hope is that as we go through the next month of July, here we go, I'm going to have a course to help you. A short course and then a little longer one with greater detail, both, kind of the executive summary and then the one for those who need to have the full story. And it'll be how to do a video resume. And I'm looking forward to helping you perform at your best. Do what it takes by having a great voice and a powerful presence and a video resume to match. All the best. Stan at stanhustad.com is for any questions or comments, and I thank you very much for your time and the opportunity to work with you, and I always love hearing from you.